And I go, well, I can't be documenting every requirement. So what if we created a tool so that people can post a requirement and blast it to everybody in the market? All we would be in charge of is making sure that we keep the lists up to date and we keep on adding people. So
Yep.
the person, the boutique firm that you never hear about because only certain listing brokers get, would get hit. We started that, and it was called Broker Roster. Just like a broker roster when you call an office and go, hey, can we trade broker rosters? And that people were closing deals. So I left Lee. A lot of my clients, because I started in 99 and on, a lot of my mentors and friends were technology people, and I had a background in technology. So I'm like, at some point in time, I'm probably going to want to do something like that.
Yeah.
But the time really came there where in 2012, it was kind of like, okay, dude, I've done really well. I'm top 5 of the top 10. I'm not married. I don't have kids. And a few people talked me into it on separate conversations, unrelated conversations. So I'm like, you know what? I should probably take the lead. And the person who I'm married to now, we had just started dating, and she's like, you should just go do it. So I started off creating like a little effective rent calculator called Rate Blend. This is when you just think you can build technology and they will come.
Yeah.
Notice that people would use it, but if you charge for it, people won't pay because they'll just run back to their spreadsheet no matter how user-friendly it is. So that was like my first dabble. The second dabble was Broker Roster, which I built when I was at Lee & Associates out of my own pocket, no company time. We're all 1099 anyway. And that started getting legs. So I went out and I said, hey, I'm just going to quit my job. And I forgot, I think I have the resignation letter somewhere. It's like, I think I want to say it was February of like 2012 or something.
Yeah.
Long story short, I did that, and people were closing deals. Like, they were blasting these requirements, no listings, blasting out requirements. I remember one of our current investors closed a $12 million deal. First
Wow.
thing he asked me was like, how are you planning to make money? Because I wouldn't pay for this. I'm like, oh, that's that. But I'll invest in the company. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't pay for it, but you'll write us a check. So that was like, I think he wrote like a check for like 25 or like 30,000.
Sure.
Super awesome guy. And anyway, we just couldn't find a way. We raised some funds. That's a whole different story.
Yep.
That was hard, but to learn that angle. But yeah, I mean, I got some good co-founders, found one of the guys I used to work at Google.
Yep.
Then it just didn't work. We couldn't find a business model behind it. There's brokers, either big firms that are just 10 rep only. Some of them want to blast requirements, some of them don't. The ones that we notice will blast the most requirements would be kind of people who do both
Yeah.
listings and sales, and listings and rep work. But there just wasn't enough volume out there. It was a great idea, but it's much more of a feature than it was a product.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. So then, okay, so you've got a little bit of time between, you had a couple of failures, you tested the market on a few different things. What spurred the idea of Digsy, and how is it going? And talk to me, like, so I'm a broker. I do a lot of buyer rep for out-of-state clients, but I also have, right now, $25 million worth of listings. So how can I interact with Digsy, and how do I think about how Digsy fits into my process when, obviously we've got CoStar and it goes up on LoopNet Premium. Where does it fit into my kind of my tools, man? And how do I use this? How do I become how does Logan Freeman become a brand ambassador? Because like I said, you're shaking up the industry, and I want to talk about that too, but let's just talk about the role that Digsy plays in commercial real estate right now.
So I'll answer the first question. So how Digsy came about was, so keep in mind, LoopNet got acquired by CoStar in 2012. So
Yep.
there was really no opportunity, and LoopNet back then was priced at $60 a month.
Okay.
They were making $100 million. I get introduced to one of the very early LoopNet guys.
Okay.
I get introduced through one of my advisors, one of the very, very early LoopNet guys, because LoopNet was two companies. It was called Property First and LoopNet, and they merged. One of the guys, the head guys who made that merger go through. Then through that, I get to meet the guy who grew LoopNet from a few million to 100 million. Super
Yep.
nice guy. We're friends to this day. Get to meet the chief technology officer and a bunch of other people. Then I end up meeting the CEO and stuff like that. And they had all left CoStar. And part of the business plan that they had for LoopNet wasn't in agreement with a lot of the C-suite. It was not their words, but there was writing on the wall that it would become paywalled. And part of the magic when you understand these dynamics is that in order for you to have enough inventory to put properties on like a marketplace. You have to have network effects, which LoopNet already had, but you have to make it either super cheap.
Yep.
Now, if you start increasing prices, then you start pricing yourself out, and then people don't list with you anymore. The second problem is, at the less amount of listings that you have, the more that people hit your website and bounce, and then that tells Google that you're not as relevant anymore. So if you look at Craigslist, for example, everything's free, but you want to post a job ad, they have so much audience that you pay for that, and they make a
Sure.
lot of money with these categories. So we saw the problem and we kind of analyzed it, and this is back in like 2014, while we were still running the other companies, right? Well, actually, we had killed them and we were trying to figure out what we needed to do. We
Sure.
said, well, we can't charge for listings because nobody knows us. We can build something like that, but the timing's not right. Like, why would people leave,
Yeah.
somebody who's already in the system? So long story short, what ends up happening is a lot of those things start manifesting in themselves. The problem that we had is we started too early. We started building around end of 2015, early 2016, and once we had all of the most of like the very very core slash like the pillars of Digsy created, like where we had great SEO, we
Yeah.
had people would search in the market that we were focused in, they would search for commercial real estate, we show up at the top. We had assembled a team to come work for us and the advisors and things like that. So we're drawing leads. And what we did initially was saying, hey, let's make money with these leads. And we would pair these leads with tenant rep brokers. And that's
Okay.
how we started making money. Then it took the market probably another 2 years. And this is why we never like came to your face and say list on Digsy. We would just focus on our core market because we were making money.
Yeah.
But the timing just wasn't right. And probably about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, what we noticed is we saw a huge spike of people starting to list properties on our website, and called them up and said, hey, thank you for listing on Digsy. What brought you over here? And goes, hey, my current solution actually like 3x or 5x their prices. We can't afford it,
Right.
and we're coming to you. And then we saw a huger spike, probably about 6 to 8 months later, and that really said, okay, we've got the timing correctly now.
Sure.
And we were never going to go. Our focus has never been go after the people who, the usual suspects that cater to brokers searching for commercial real estate or needing comps or anything like that. What we understood very, very well is brokers who do both listings and representation, and at the same time, brokers who have listings but for some reason they can't get the traction. They need an avenue to affordably reach the end user, right? And the end user needs to have a lot of inventory to
Right.
sift through, because otherwise if you have 2 or 3 listings, it's too thin. For my personal experience, when I was a lead, I understood that, hey, I could pay for ads to go to all of my listings, and I had built this website and I had all my listings, and the click-through rate from paid advertising was fair, but the conversions were atrocious, and it's because the inventory is too thin.
Yeah.
So we basically decided we're just going to make it free for anybody to list. And if anybody's interested in generating, more traffic, more exposure, whether it's our website or other websites or through, digital ads and anything like that, we handle it. We know how to make it work. Like the broker or the property owner doesn't need to focus on it.
Yep.
So we're able to do that. And keep in mind, we have, tens of thousands of people that are actually going on our website every month. And we actually, from the get-go, we track their IP address, we track what they're looking at, what properties they're clicking on, if they're inquiring on a property, why are they inquiring on that? Is it because it's a creative building? Is it a Class A, et cetera? So we assemble kind of like a Facebook profile on these
Yeah.
people.
Sure.
And then let's say you come in, right? And then you have this property for sale. Well, we already know the people that did not necessarily do a search for that, but have clicked on properties like that because they've been suggested or they've interacted with that. So there's an affinity towards that type of property, and we're able to target them and reach out to them too. So there's a lot of things that we do behind the scene, which is
Sure.
the secret sauce. But it's not just a list inside, pay a membership, and then just we're going to push you to the front page, because you get let's say there's 100 people in your market, and everybody pays, you push them all to the front page. What's that going to do?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious. So do you have specific asset classes that you're working with or not working with right now, or is it just all commercial real estate?
It's all commercial real estate. So we
Okay.
do office, industrial, retail, land. Multifamily is actually, it's already built. Like technically already built. We're rolling that out really shortly here. So you'll
Okay.
be one of the first individuals, because
Awesome.
that
Because I
launches
have a
like senior.
listing. I need to get on it.
Yeah. So we've done things for you in the past
Yeah.
without having that category too.
Sure.
So that will be on there. But really, like if you look at the landscape of like these marketing engines, like what's the actual? Have you heard of the jobs to be done?
No.
So it's really interesting, especially you get exposed to this when you're in technology through like venture capitalists and people who invest in your company and other mentors. But Clay Christensen basically did a study. They were trying to help McDonald's sell more milkshakes.
Okay.
So they started, messing around with the flavors, messing around with all the things and that, and sales did not go up. But they noticed one thing. It was like mainly people who were buying milkshakes were buying them in the morning. You'd think it'd be like a dessert, right?
Yeah, it's odd, right?
Yeah, so they actually did a few questions and they couldn't figure out what it was. So they actually had one guy on their team, not the McDonald's team, but this consulting company, and they basically stood like right at the end of the drive-through window and like knocked on the window and said, "Hey, what's the job you hired this milkshake? Like, why did you buy this milkshake?" And what they found out is that most of these people had a long commute to work, and they needed something to suck on, like something to like entertain them, because they didn't want something like heavy like a breakfast, because they were gonna get to the office, but they had an hour or 2 hour
Yeah.
commute to get to work. So the job was basically, hey, I need something to satiate mildly my hunger, but at the same time, give me something to do in the car. So once you knew what the job to be done was,
Mhm.
then basically what they did, they started making the milkshakes thicker so they would last longer. They found out that it would melt within just 30 minutes, and they have an hour, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of what where I'm going with that. So once you understand like the actual job, let
Yeah.
me ask you a question. All right. So, Mr. Logan, when you list your property on LoopNet, on CoStar, on CorrectC, on any other platform, what's the job that you're trying to get done?
Well, I would say I'm trying to find a end user for the owner of the property to trade hands. So, and I want to make that transition from one owner to the next as seamless as possible. I want to go under contract one time, two at the max, and um, I want it to be kind of what I'll call just smooth, and expectations are I can deliver to my owner very well. So, qualified buyer. So, transitioning one property from one owner to the next.
And is that the only job of you trying to attract an end user? Like, why an end user instead of a broker?
Well, I should rephrase it, because I mean, I'm on the buy side a lot, and it's very interesting for me because um, my pitch to other brokers is that my buyers are qualified and they've been put through my process. So um, I didn't say broker, because that's not who the end user particularly is. But
But
I
you're
mean,
targeting the end user. Is it just to fill your vacancy, or are you seeing are you saying, hey, I want to get in touch with end users because if this property doesn't work, I can probably flip them into a representation assignment? Is that correct, or am I putting words in your mouth?
well, I don't do any leasing, so it's all investment sales for me. So it's a little bit different, but
But let's say you can turn them into a rep assignment for a buyer. That's what I mean.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so is the job that you want to be done is get exposure, get inbound leads coming in that are end users, so I can put them in my property. I can I can I can shorten my sales cycle for
Right.
my owner so I look good. But at the same time, if I can turn that into a buyer for my search services.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. We take all of the inbound leads that we get, and we put them into our database for our next properties. Absolutely.
So now knowing, is that the job to be done, or am I missing? Is it just like, are you just trying to get as much exposure as possible, or is the exposure what leads you to get more leads?
Yeah, I think the exposure to the right people leads to more leads, but then we have to do our real job, which is actually communicating what the value of the property is. But yes, you got to get that message or the product in front of the right audience.
And why is it right now, like, what are like the main websites, like the ones that you, every time, if you only had, X amount of time, you always make sure that you get them listed in that property
Well,
or in that listing service.
yeah, it's obviously our own, you know, website. So our Clemens brokerage website, we utilize, you know, LoopNet. So we get it in LoopNet or and CoStar, whatever.
Hmm.
I don't know which one the right one is. I don't do any of this back end stuff. So,
It's okay. Yeah.
but one of, you know, that company's website, if it's applicable, we will also get it into the MLS, but not always.
Yeah.
And then we do what's called a broker blast to our local brokers that are representing buyers in the marketplace.
Right. So there's two jobs there, right? Like you're trying to find a broker, but then there's another job that you're trying to find an end user to contact you directly, which is
Absolutely.
probably your website and then LoopNet and then, you know, the work that we've done for you at Digsy and
Yep.
things like that,
And
right?
LinkedIn
So
too.
in LinkedIn, yeah. So you're basically just trying to get eyeballs on this property because you're trying to get that. So the job to be done for you is, hey, I want to get this in front of as many end users as possible, end user being an investor or an owner user, whatever,
Yep.
right? And so that I can generate more leads, but at the same time, you're mentioning I want to generate more qualified leads, which right now you're saying, right? That is not, that you have to do your due diligence, stuff like that. And that's where people get bogged down. Like people don't start really breaking down what the jobs to be
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
are. So the one job, you can't be good at all these jobs. Some people try to, but the thing is, you're just not as good, right? So there's already tools for brokers all day long. What there isn't a lot of very good tools. A lot of the tools that some people have hope for that can actually get more end users or end investors have proven to just yield more brokers.
Sure.
Right. So what we're really good at is getting that property through multiple avenues and also digital marketing and everything else. You list it on Digsy, you're going to get the SEO. That's it. Yeah, people are going to land on it. If they like your property or not, then they're going to go there. But if your property's not on the first 3 pages, then you're not going to see that. Like what happens with us is we're not trying to sell anybody an upgraded service because it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind too. It's supply and demand. You can't, when it comes to commercial real estate, if there's 10 leads on the market and only 2 of them close, you can literally just have one person there. So it's going to be whoever can pay the highest price or whoever's trying to bid for that person's seat that you go after. So you don't take on that many users. You get everybody to list for free and you got that, but then it's people that, you know, the system knows that are actively looking for space because we have their data.
Yeah.
And we're able to select some people in that market to actually go and blow up their business, right? So that's essentially what we do is we give you a free avenue to expose your properties to people. If you want a little bit better placement, you just get charged a small fee. But then if you kind of want to have like a digital marketing agency and like a lead nurturing and a qualification things, then you basically hire Digsy to do a lot of things in the above. And you won't find this in our marketing materials simply because we're selective about it.
Sure.
But that's one of the avenues that we do. But the main thing is they want a company who's investing time and energy in SEO and digital marketing to attract the end user because 80% of all searches start on Google, right? And we want to be able to provide as many properties available to that, no matter whether we're making money or not. We're happy when somebody goes in and somebody who's never paid us gets an inquiry. Why?
Yeah.
Because they'll keep coming back.
Absolutely.
They're probably not our customer, but at the same time, they're delighting the searcher. So if they're delighting the searcher will come back and searchers will come back and people will tell them about us and people write about us all the time. So then basically what that does is the people who do pay us money benefit from that.
Yeah. Well, I think what would be interesting to do is even just a case study. I've got a new listing and we've had it for about a month now. We've had some, interest, but it's a lot of brokers. We've got a few offers, but they're not close to what we're asking for or what the value of the property is. So maybe offline, you and I connect on what we can do. And I'd love to just put a case study together, right? I'd love the end user to buy it from, somebody that was searching on Digsy. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
But if we could use this listing as just like, hey, we got this listing. We utilize Digsy services. I'll pay for it, whatever I need to, and then this is the amount of traffic that drove to it. These are and I'll track how many qualified people I talked to, how many offers we got to, and, if the property got under contract, man, I believe in it and I want to do that. So let's connect offline on that. I've got a new 31 unit apartment complex. It's just a beautiful deal in a great area here that I know somebody who does historical tax credits will want to do. It's just finding that end user who's been comfortable and utilized those types of, entitlements before. So
Didn't you do something with us before? What was your experience with us before?
So it was very unique product because it was a senior living facility. It's brand new. It was still in development, just about to be completed. No income on the property though, because it was leasing up. It was a triple net lease deal, but you also had to buy out the operator, and so it was just very highly specialized niche, and it was a big deal. 23 to $25 million, purchase price. So it's just a lot of moving parts in that deal, which, I think takes a very specialized person, not only to buy that deal, and then also, by the way, we sent it out like a week before COVID.
Yeah.
Senior living and COVID, not a
Mhm.
good mixture. So
Right.
we got a lot of traction on it, but trying to tell all of those different stories was somewhat difficult. So
Yeah.
this deal that I've got is pretty straightforward. It's fully baked. I want to use this as an opportunity to see what we can do, and for me to promote Digsy and your guys' services. So we'll connect offline on what we need to
Sure.
do with that deal,
Well,
because
I'm glad you got 60 interested parties at least from
oh yeah,
that.
totally. We had some great conversations. It was just the same sentiment. Hey, don't really like to buy out operators. We need a national operator, or COVID, or price is too much in this current climate. So, I mean, it was fine. What we ended up doing was I ended up calling 15 of the largest senior housing brokerages, and I actually am co-brokering with a company out of Chicago now that
Nice.
all they do is $1 billion in senior living, every single year. So, I mean, it's just highly specialized deal. But
See,
this whole
that's smart. See, that's why people hire you, because you actually look at the problem and you go, okay, we're experimenting. This isn't working. We're getting the wrong audience. And then you go, okay, well, what about people who have a larger audience you're partnering up?
Yep.
You're like, dude, if I own property, that's what I want to hear from my broker.
Absolutely. And I'm sharing my fee to go sell this property because I know that I don't have the audience that I need, right? So it's really, really important to do. So I'm excited about this. I'll send you an email on this property. Okay, so I see you on LinkedIn a lot. I follow your content. You're always putting out great stuff on LinkedIn algorithms, all the different ways to utilize this digital marketing and social media. What do you see as maybe a disruptor in the commercial real estate space now, next couple of years? Where are we headed as a space? I'm a firm believer that, there's a lot of folks that are 50, 60, 70 years old in this space that are going to be saying bye-bye pretty soon. And it's guys like me and guys like you that, are working in the space that are going to shake this up. So get your crystal ball out for me, Andrew, and tell me what you see kind of as the future for commercial real estate and how transactions get done.
Yeah, it's different. So like the number one thing that you see is, and I'll just go back to history,
Yep.
right? When E-Trade and all these internet brokers came through, they didn't disrupt the Morgan Stanleys and the Goldman Sachs, right? The private bankers and the people who like the funds, they didn't disrupt those individuals, right? These were privately wealthy individuals,
Yep.
funds that, and pension funds that were coming in who needed somebody with the sophistication to be able to make a lot of dollars. What you did
Absolutely.
see is you did see the brokers who were focusing on the bottom end, which is, I am selling, 30 shares of Apple to grandma, or Bob calls me once in a while because he wants to buy 100 shares of Tesla, and I'm going to charge him 40, 50, $100 for that and my advice. That bottom end market, brokers, like, they weren't making money anyway, but
Yeah.
they came and ate their lunch. So there's kind of like this disruption where it never worried the big guys or anything. So like if you do see disruptions, like it's not going to be somebody disrupting the Logan Freemans. I don't see that, at least right now.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be that, because first of all, like a machine can't go out there and tell the story and get the attention,
Yep.
of let's say a privately wealthy individual or an investor. And the reason why is because otherwise they get bombarded all day long. Imagine an investor who invests in like these senior community living centers, who will buy something out that's in development with everything else being leased, and who has that category. Is he or she gonna see an email blast out of the 10 email blasts, and that's going to get his attention and want to develop more? And like, if I go to the website, is it going to tell me everything? Or is Logan, who has a relationship with me, go, hey, Brian, hey, Tiffany, here's an interesting opportunity. I saw this, looked at the mat, so you kind of have to custom tailor things.
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of like, is the customer for a t-shirt the same thing for like somebody who like, or let's say just a dress shirt, the same kind of like these custom shirts where like they design it to and tailor to that, and you have like the little initials and the
Yeah.
nice cufflinks. It's a whole different customer base. So the bottom end, I think it's gonna get disrupted, but we've been talking about for years. So for example, small building sales, like small buildings, or leasing on the, sub 10,000 square feet. Brokers don't even want to work on that anyway. Like what they're trying to do is lock in their relationship a lot of the times with the owner so they can sell the asset, but that's how they prove their relationship,
Sure.
but they don't make money off of it. So the problems that I see in disrupting that is you can heavily automate it, but a lot of these small building owners don't have money. A lot of the brokers who have a lot of that inventory, unless it's institutional, like brokers working with like, EQ Office or Harbor Associates or Blackstone, like they probably have that much money, but a lot of their deals come from brokers. So there's like nothing, but 80% of the market's kind of like this small little thing.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is this, right? You have to make it a lot more like buying a plane ticket. Go online, do a tour of the property, take a look at it, see the floor plan, see the amenities and a lot, and like you can self-select and then book a tour. The problem is a lot of the costs to do these tours, like the institutional landlords can do this, but they're a percentage of all the ownerships.
Right.
Like most, if you drive down the street, most of like these buildings are owned by like, family trust, people that invest in real estate. So you've got like a small business park. And in order for you to kind of differentiate yourself, you have to make it available for everybody. And the cost and the manpower to do these, like these virtual tours and even Matterports and stuff, like the cost needs to come down
Yeah. It's
considerably.
expensive.
And the manpower doesn't do, like if you charge somebody like say $100 a month to list a property, you don't even recoup that. And you kind of have to make it across all of the properties have like these tours or at least pictures that look good, but commercial. And then you have somebody who's in the market. Like when you and I book hotel rooms, we do it all the time. So we know what to expect, what to look for. Like we
Yep.
know we want the smoking section, a non-smoking section. And it's kind of like a very short-term transaction. We're only going to, I mean, even if it sucks, we're going to be there for what, 2-3 days, maybe
Yeah.
a week. When you come to commercial real estate, it's like first of all, the person in that bottom end of the market is probably their second or third time leasing space. They don't move that often. And every time it's new to them. Oh yeah, what a triple net mean? What does this mean? So it's a big problem. Like you have kind of like this layer on the bottom that needs to be disrupted. But even if you were to create a brokerage firm that focuses on that, the commission dollars, the amount of work it goes into doing that is not. It's not that. I do see AI enhancing the broker and enhancing some of these experiences
Sure.
for disrupted, but I don't think the top end's going to be disrupted.
Yeah.
I really don't. So I kind of hope, like I see the bottom being disrupted, but the economics just, there isn't anything indicative that we can make that like a kayak experience where you go shopping for real estate, you book a tour and you go somewhere.
Yeah.
You would need to be able to do it for everybody, and it's just not the norm right now.
All right. I'm going to ask you one of our questions that I usually ask some of our guests. And, I think you have a really great network and a lot of followers. So this is your opportunity to kind of promote somebody on the show, to talk about something in the commercial real estate space. Maybe they're a business owner, like yourself, that has something to share. So who do you think would be a good guest for the show that I can reach out to, or you can make an intro for me?
Oh, totally. It depends. What kind of person do you want on the show? Like
Any type of investor or business owner. Yep.
So let me think. You've already talked to Beth Azor, right?
I have not had Beth on.
Yeah, so she's interesting because she owns shopping centers, and then
Yep.
and then on top of that, she brokers and coaches brokers. So I have no idea. This girl she probably doesn't tell you, but she's one of triplets, and they all do these different
I
things.
know, man. She's all over the place. Her
Yeah.
and Barry Wolf and all of those guys. So awesome. Okay. I'll reach out to Beth and have her on the show. I'm curious. So thank you for sharing everything about Digsy. I'm hoping to get a case study going with you on my new listing. I'm excited about that. If somebody wants to follow you, get more information about your guys' website, where can I point folks to?
Yeah, so I'm the most active on LinkedIn first and Twitter,
Okay.
and then you can also find me on Instagram, everything else. So if you want to look at me personally, you just type in Andrew Bermudez. So Andrew, last name Bermudez on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Go ahead and add me. Mention that you heard about me through Logan, his podcast, and I'll make sure to add you as a connection. We post on my LinkedIn. I'm also posting things on like we mentioned, you want to find more end users, right?
Yep.
So if you're an investor, a broker, or a professional that wants to learn these what we call commercial real estate hacks on how to get in touch with those people easier, we're always posting videos and content and sharing our own articles that show you exactly how to do that. And a lot of this stuff doesn't even cost money.
Yep.
So go ahead and follow me on or add me on LinkedIn. The second one's Twitter. So Twitter's easy, just my first name and last name. So at Andrew Bermudez on Twitter. Instagram's the same thing, Andrew Bermudez. If you're trying to follow Digsy on Twitter, it's at Get, so GETDIGSY. So Get Digsy. But yeah, LinkedIn's probably where I'm most active, followed by Twitter. And then you can always go to our website, getdigsy.com.
You bet. I'll have all of that in our post, Andrew. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your knowledge just around commercial real estate, getting to the end user, your story, how you got into commercial real estate, how your family went from food stamps to doing very, very well, I'm assuming now. So that's really exciting, man. It's guys like you that pump me up on a regular basis that are doing different things, going against the grain, and really, what I'll say is disrupting this industry. So I'm going to keep you very, very close. Maybe we should do a webinar. I got two ideas. One is maybe we should do a webinar together on commercial real estate hacks and how to sell your property faster or how to find properties faster. So that's one thing I will present. The second is the case study with my new listing. I want to utilize the service to its fullest potential and bring this client an end user. And I don't care about double ending the deal or whatever, but I just want to get this thing sold for them. And then the third is kind of interesting as well. I think that on LinkedIn, you share a lot of great ideas and facts and I guess you call them hacks. I don't know. I mean,
I call them hacks. Yeah. They're commercial real estate.
Yeah. Some hacks. I'm thinking about a way to aggregate 10 or 15 questions that I get a lot of times from being not only involved in commercial real estate, but listening or trying to find commercial real estate. And maybe we could do like a series around those, these burning questions that kind of get thrown at me all the time, man. But I just, my wheels are spinning. I think there's a lot of cool things that you guys are doing. I'm excited to be a part of it, to continue to point people in your direction. Thank you for all the value that you drop today and every day on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate you being here, man.
Thanks for having me. Before I go, I'll let you know one thing. Yes, an answer to all three of those scenarios.
Yep.
Before I let you go, since I know it's going to, this is going to air a little bit later, here's a commercial real estate hack for you.
Okay.
Of the properties that you want to do business with, or you're looking, in the areas that your business owners are or your investors, or your buyers are looking in, go to like the market where like the properties you're looking at and start looking up the property taxes. If they're late on their property taxes, most likely they're late on everything. This is how I made a ton of money doing short sales in commercial real estate.
Yep.
If they're late on their taxes, they're probably late on other stuff.
Yeah.
And that usually is a signal that they're going to need to do something. So you want to start advising that property owner. At the same time, you want to kind of have to, bring them buyers, understand their situation, try to help them out. Eventually, a lot of the people we try to help out, we actually turn into listings as well. So we're able to successfully get, from underneath their loans.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's a great hack. Really great. So, guys, this is Logan Freeman with the LiveFree Investors Podcast, where investors and business owners share investment advice so you too can live free. Do not forget to connect with myself, with Andrew, on LinkedIn, getdigsy.com. It will be on the show notes as well. Andrew, thanks for joining us today. Until next time, guys, live free.